Alhamdulillah, we have our Instant Pot over here, and I'm sure you have yours too, and you're probably thinking, how do I use this thing and how can it help me to prepare meals for myself and my family in a very quick and efficient way? So before we get into that, I think it's important to show you how to open the box first. So what you're going to need, especially if yours is plastic wrapped like mine, is a pair of scissors. And I'm just going to very carefully try to cut off all of the plastic. And then once you do that, you can take a look at what is inside. This is always the funnest part of working with a new item, is getting to open it, the unboxing portion. All right, so I'm just gonna try to remove this from the plastic. And we can take a look at the box. Awesome, so it's a pretty red box, of course. And it shows your Instant Pot. I have to give it a little bit of a flip like this. And inside, you can see that it already comes with some really important things. So the first one is a little booklet that tells you how to get started with your Duo Instant Pot. It's very nice. It gives you some really good details, alhamdulillah. I'm going to put that aside now. We also have over here a little promo package that says Discover Baking, Discover Amazing, which is pretty good. And then we get into the good stuff. So the first one, and you're gonna have to get your pair of scissors again, is your charging cable. It's what's going to allow for you to actually use your Instant Pot. And as you can see, it has a little bit of something here to keep it closed. And it's a pretty good length. You're gonna insert this end into your Instant Pot, and of course this end into the electric socket. So I'm gonna put this aside for now. We're gonna have this big thing at the top that just helps with the packaging. You can put that aside. And then you can start to open your Instant Pot. It's usually in a very big plastic bag like this. You're gonna have to find the handles to safely get this out. And there you go. I want to move some things aside. I like to always keep the box when I get something new, just in case I move. So you might want to do that as well. It'll help when you're moving. When I remove this plastic wrap over here, and alhamdulillah, we have our new Instant Pot. So the Instant Pot gives you some really nice information. There's a warning label over here that talks a little bit about how to avoid the steam and the pressure so that you don't burn yourself. There's also a lot of other warnings all across the Instant Pot that can help you with that, okay? So I'm gonna try to open it up. You're gonna have to, of course, turn the handle, try to find it, use your left hand, hold on to the lid handle like this, and then try to turn it about clockwise in order to make sure that it opens up. We're going to explore each and every single part of this Instant Pot, and we're going to look at how best to use it as well. Great, so I have all of the parts of my Instant Pot in front of me, but I think it's really important to first talk a little bit about what it is. It's a type of machine that helps you to pressure cook and cook things very quickly. It can do many different things like pressure cook rice. It can also help you to saute things. It can even steam and hold things very warm for a long time. If you wanted to open your Instant Pot, you would have to, of course, try to open it in a counterclockwise direction, and we'll talk a little bit more about that later. Now, there are different parts that come with your Instant Pot box. The first one is, of course, the lid. And the lid is really important because it helps to create a very tight seal. The seal is going to be very useful, and it's going to allow for you to pressure cook and to cook things quickly. Second of all, you're going to need to have your pot. And as you can see, it's very nice, it's very shiny, and it's very clean. I always like to give things another clean just in case, to make sure that it's extra nice and ready for me to use when I'm cooking. And it's going to go inside this thing over here, which is your base. So I'm going to put it inside here like that. This, of course, is a stainless steel pot, and the bottom is the base. The base is what allows for the heat to be produced, and the base also comes with a bunch of different functions. You'll probably take a look at your computer screen over here and see that there's a soup option for broth. There's also a meat option for stews. There's a bean and chili option. There's a poultry option. There's also rice, multigrain porridge, and steam, and a bunch of other things at the bottom. So the purpose of this actually is to really allow for you to, of course, pressure cook, but it also comes with different timings. So for example, it'll have a preset timing for meat because it assumes that you want your meat cooked to a certain level, to a certain temperature, and for a certain consistency. So you don't actually have to follow any of these buttons, even the ones that say porridge or yogurt. All of it's doing is just trying to cook things at a different amount of time. It might make things a little bit easier for you. We also have over here a trivet. That's the word for it. It's called a trivet. And what it does, it allows for you to cook things inside your Instant Pot, maybe at like the bottom or something. So let's say, for example, you wanted to cook or make a gravy. What you would do is you would make the gravy at the bottom, but let's say you want to also make some grilled potatoes. So what you would do, if you didn't have time or wanted to do both at the same time, is you would use your trivet, you'd place it inside. And what this does, it allows for the potato to not be cooked inside the gravy. It allows for them not to combine because it's raised up so high. So that's a really good way of trying to cook things on top if you're trying to save a little bit of time and cook two different dishes as once, which is really nice. In addition, we of course have the power cord, and the power cord has a little part of the Instant Pot that it needs to go in. I'm just going to turn it around like this. You can probably see that it has these 3 lines, and what you're going to do is try to line it up as best as you can with the entry hole over here. I'm just going to stick it in like that. Awesome. And so now that we've stuck it in over here, I'm just going to show you guys what this sounds like when it turns on. There you go. You can see a little bit of a nice little beep showing you that it's on and that it's ready to cook. I'm just going to remove the trivet over here and show you guys exactly how to use this machine. All right, so let's start off by learning a little bit about how to actually use your Instant Pot, because I'm sure you have all these recipes, especially the ones that we're going to show you as part of this program, and you want to be able to use them, especially in this Instant Pot. So I just wanted to let you guys know that of course you can cook all of the recipes that we're making on this program in a regular pot or in a regular pan. The advantage, like I was saying with the Instant Pot, is that it goes a lot faster. And let's say that you're somebody who's working very often and you want to have a meal ready for you that's really warm, nice and hot when you come home. The pressure cooker can also allow for you to do that. You can put all of your ingredients in the morning, and then you can come back home, after a long day at work, and have a meal that's ready for you. So there's lots of different advantages to using this Instant Pot. What I want to do now is I'm just going to close the lid over here. I'm going to try to align the left hand and the right hand with the left hand and the right hand on the machine. If it's really hard to identify those, just move your fingers and your hands around and you'll find 2 handles over here. You'll also find the same thing with the lid. You'll find a left handle and a right handle. And you'll also find this part that juts out here. Make sure that the part that juts out kind of aligns with the part that juts out over here as well. So you're just going to align everything like this. And you'll hear that chiming, that music that goes off. It's letting you know that you've gotten in the right location, sort of. We just need to do a little bit more wiggling. So now that we've done that, I'm just going to turn it around clockwise like this. And you can hear that it has locked. That's the chime that you need to hear to know that it's locked. The chime, again, that you hear when it's getting close but not particularly there, is that. And then when it locks, like this. That's the clockwise rotation. Awesome. So now that we've done that, it's important to cover a few really important safety features with this. The first one is that you have this thing over here that's acting like a vent. We were talking a little bit earlier about how pressure cooking happens really fast, and it cuts the time that you might need to make things like chicken halim or other things considerably less. It does a really good job of that. And the reason for that is that it uses pressure and steam. So it keeps all of this pressure in and it allows things to cook really fast. But at some point, you need to release that steam, especially towards the end. And that's a really, really helpful thing to do. And you also need to be very careful because you don't want the steam to hit you in the face. So what I do is, if you look over here at the top of your Instant Pot, it has a little button or nodule that you can switch between seal, which is when you want to seal all the pressure and the steam in, and vent, which is when you're done cooking and you want to just let the steam come out. So if you set it on seal, like I have just now, right? It's not on vent, it's on seal, you're going to notice that eventually over time, as you're cooking, the little metal part over here, the little circular silver metal thing over here, this thing goes up when the pressure has built. That means that things are starting to cook and it's really great. But however, if a timer has gone off and that means that you're done, you need to adjust it. You need to turn it off from seal because you're done and you want to release all of that steam and move it onto vent. So what I do, because I don't want to get burned, and I know there's going to be a lot of steam that's going to come from the top over here, is I try to use a spoon or a fork or something that's really long so that I can get to it and turn it off from a long distance. This is just my way of trying to save my skin, literally. So you can do that as well. You can just stand back, do this, and then you're going to notice that all of the steam is going to evaporate. That's a really important thing to do. Again, keep your distance, and eventually when the silver nodule over here starts to fall, that means that all of the pressure has been released and that all of the steam is gone. You have to make really sure that it's all the way at the bottom. That's going to be really helpful for you. Okay, so now that we've discussed that, I think it's also really important to talk a little bit about making sure that your Instant Pot works perfectly. So let's say that you're working with a recipe. So take this off. And the recipe is calling for you to make something that you might not think needs a lot of water. Like let's say you want to make grilled chicken or something like that. You still need to have at least about a cup of water in this pot for it to work. And if you're probably, if you listened to a little bit of what we talked about with steam, you probably know that that's because steam is just really hot water vapors. You need to have enough water in this machine or enough fluid just in general for it to work. So you need to have at least a cup in order to make anything work. Even if you're making something, again, like grilled chicken, that's very important. Additionally, we also need to make sure that you don't exceed the fill line. So let's take a look in here. I'm just gonna show you guys over here like this. So as you can see, it says over here that there's a half fill line and then there's a 2/3 fill line. So the 2/3 fill line is what really allows for you to know exactly when you shouldn't be adding any more liquid. This is like the absolute maximum, and you can't have more ingredients or more things in there than that level. There's also the half fill line. So you're probably wondering what that's for. The half fill line is if you're making things that tend to expand, if things that tend to be a little bit more once they have the heat. So let's try to think about things that would qualify like that. We're talking about things like porridge, right? Because if you're in the morning and you're trying to make yourself some oatmeal, you'll notice that over time, the oats really soak up a lot of liquid, they soak up a lot of fluid, and what you had at the beginning, which might have been this much, turns into this much. So the half fill line is needed for you to know those kinds of things cannot exceed that half fill line. Similar, if you're making bulgur or rice, you need to really be mindful of that limit. Okay, so we have looked at most of the functions on this pot. I already explained to you that a lot of the ones that say particular food items like rice, multigrain, porridge, etc. are really just there to help you to have the times already set for you. So you don't have to use them. You can just use a pressure cook option and then keep an eye on it and make sure that you don't let it burn or go over. Everyone has their own recipe and their own way of trying to cook things, so you don't have to use a bunch of these options if you don't want to. But there are some that are really important for you to know. The first one is the plus or minus buttons over here. So if you're having trouble identifying them, just go from the top of the computer screen at the front of your Instant Pot, identify the very middle of the top over here and bring your fingers down, and you'll notice that there's a plus or minus button. Those are what allow for you to set the time, and they also kind of allow for you to set the different pressure levels or the different functions if you are moving between, for example, rice, multigrain, and porridge. It kind of helps with those things. But it's really important for you to set the time because not everybody, for example, wants to cook their porridge at the porridge setting that is over here as part of the Instant Pot. You might want to set your own time as well. So the second button that I think is really cool is the keep warm button. So this is really helpful, especially if you have maybe made everything and you're really happy and ready to serve it to everybody, but maybe not everyone's hungry just yet, or you want to keep it warm for a really long time. No worries, just hit the keep warm button and it's going to do that for you. There's also the option, of course, of setting how long you want it to keep warm by using the plus or minus button as well. There's also the saute button. And I was telling you guys earlier that a lot of the buttons on this machine might not be used by you and your family, but the ones at the very bottom, the saute button is at the bottom left, is at the very far bottom left of the screen, is a very important one. So if you want to, for example, make some grilled chicken, you are of course going to be adding in your cup of water to make sure that the pressure cooker functions and works. But the saute button is really great because it kind of just acts like a stove top. It's really great when you get to grill things and make them nice and functional. You don't have to even use the lid with the saute button, which is really great. And the last one, of course, is to make sure that when you're cooking and preparing food, that you keep the lid on and make sure that it attaches properly. Let me show you what I mean. So again, you're going to make sure that the two handles, the left and the right, align with the left and the right of your pot. The lid handles align with the pot handles, and at the bulge at the bottom aligns with the bulge at the bottom. You're going to hear that sound, which means that you're getting closer. And then you hear that sound, which means that it's sealed. Now, the great thing about this Instant Pot and the newer model that you've been provided with is that it will seal properly automatically because you hear the chime. But sometimes in some older models, as I've come to find, it might not seal completely properly. What that means is that the pressure isn't building. If that's what's happening, if you notice that the pressure isn't building, if you notice that the silver little knob at the top of your lid is not rising, then that means that the pressure is not building and things are not able to pressure cook. What this also means is that the bottom of your pan is going to burn. That's happened to me a few times. So you have to be very careful and make sure that things are not burning. Luckily, at some point, the machine will tell you at the very front, it will say burn when things have started to burn. But I've noticed that at that point, it's probably too late and you're gonna have a layer of crusted burn food at the bottom. So just be very careful and make sure that it's sealed properly, and make sure that after maybe 5 minutes or so, you start to see the metal knob over here rise, which means that there's a lot of pressure. Awesome, I think we've gone through everything. I'm really happy to hear that you guys have received your Instant Pots, and I hope that you get to make a lot of delicious food for many, many years to come in this machine, bi'idhnillah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.